Rafaela, and this is the beginning of a series of Bible prophecies and interpretations. I also trust that all Christians have considered the situation and the time we're living in, and have prepared something, some food, some water, and if possible a place where they can be safe in case there will be more problems than we had with the recent ones. Now, we start with Daniel 2. Daniel 2 is the most precise and concise prophecy, prediction of the world future and of Jesus coming back at the end. The other ones are more detailed, but Daniel 2 gives this overview. And King Nebuchadnezzar, if you haven't read Daniel 2, please familiarize yourself with it. Read Daniel 2. It's about King Nebuchadnezzar and Babylon. The children of Israel were brought into Babylon as Israel was conquered by Babylon. And among the children of Israel, the nation, were also children. Those were Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So when we think about this time they were in, we have very little understanding of it. It happened in approximately 602 before Christ. So that's something like 2,600 years ago. Life was very different. Now the reason we admire Daniel so much, at least I do, is that he was a child. He was brought into captivity, but his faith in God never wavered or failed. This is a very, very good point. If you learn nothing else about the prophecies of Daniel, which are very good, they're very interesting, and all Bible prophecy has been given for us to profit from it, to understand it. There's lots we need to do, lots we need to understand, but all prophecy is there for our benefit. Now, King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, and then he forgot it. That happens sometimes. And he asked his magicians, soothsayers, astrologers, and all that he had at his disposal in his court to tell him the dream and interpret it. Now that's a little bit of a tall order, if you ask me. Not many people can know other people's dreams. So then, because nobody knew it, they couldn't give the answer. The Chaldeans, the magicians, the soothsayers, astrologers, none of them could tell the king's dream. So the result is that King Nebuchadnezzar decided that they all need to be killed. That is a very strong degree, very strong decision. I'm thankful our leaders don't operate like that. Oof, that would be not so nice. Anyway, so then Daniel prays, and he gets the answer from the Lord. Of course, God would know the dream. I mean, he gave it. God rules the spiritual sphere, the realm of the spirit. That is his place where he lives and where he rules from. And dreams can be from the wrong side too, but he would know those ones, I guess, too. He knows everything. So Daniel got the dream, and he then is brought before Nebuchadnezzar, King Nebu for short, and he starts telling the king, and I will read this. It's in Daniel 2:29 starting. As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into thy mind upon thy bed. What should come to pass hereafter? And he that revealeth secrets maketh known to thee what shall come to pass. So the king knew that the dream had something to do with secrets and future, and he was like he knew it was an important dream, not just like some little thing that you sometimes dream about. But as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have, more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king. And that thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. So a very big statue, I guess. This image's head was of fine gold. His breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest still that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet, that were of iron and clay, and break them into pieces. So there's this image, has all these metallic parts, and then comes a huge stone that hits the feet, and the whole image just collapses. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. Now we know the stone is Jesus, and this prophecy tells us that the kingdoms of the world, which are pictured here, will be taken down by Jesus. And later his spirit, his people will fill the whole earth. That stone will become a mountain. So that's of course figurative. We don't have stones that suddenly grow to mountains physically. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. And now Daniel starts to interpret it. And God is of course very wise. We know he knows many things, understands many things. He understands the heart, and he helps people in many ways. Thou, O king, art the king of kings, for the God of heaven had given thee a kingdom, power and strength and glory. That's a bit flattering for King Nebu, no? And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand, and had made thee ruler over them all. And then he says, Thou art this head of gold. So here King Nebu goes, wow, I'm the main thing here. I'm the head. The head thinks the head is the important thing, and gold, that's the best of the metals anyway. So King Nebuchadnezzar is pleased at this point, of course. But I want you to understand this. But wherever you are, whatever happens in the world, with God you're unbeatable if you have a connection, if you can hear him, if you know what to do, how to follow him, how to obey. And if you have his power, which is dominion basically over everything. So Daniel, I admire that, because he wasn't saved. Jesus hadn't come yet, and he still knew God well enough to have faith, to trust. So anybody, regardless of who they are, can know and experience God and God's presence. Okay, I continue reading. And after thee shall arise another kingdom, inferior to thee. So King Nebu is okay. It's less than me. And another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. Now these kingdoms ruled the known world at that time. Like we have a lot of kingdoms. Just any kingdom comes to your mind. Doesn't rule the whole world. It just rules its nation and its people. These are kingdoms that rule the whole world. And this is something I think a lot of people have missed when they have tried to interpret this thing. So we know the silver was Medo-Persia, Darius and Cyrus. I probably pronounced them wrong because, I'm not a native speaker. I try to be clear though. So, I'm just losing my place here, so I have to go back. Got excited. So Daniel is telling God's message to him and interpreting it. Now we know from history about Medo-Persia, we know the third kingdom was Greece. And this is not anything new. I don't think there is any problem with understanding it that far. But then if we look a little bit about the second kingdom, then in Daniel 8, and now I want to stress the fact that these prophecies were from the same person. No, they were from God, but the same person got them in the same era. So when he talks about the fourth kingdom in Daniel 2 or Daniel 7 or Daniel 8, it talks about the same fourth kingdom. God is not the author of confusion. Anyway, in Daniel 8, God reveals the second kingdom as a two-horned ram. And the third one as a he-goat. When he showed King Nebuchadnezzar this vision, this beautiful metallic vision, so they were very precious. Those metals are very important, they were precious. But when he shows his prophet, or Daniel, then he shows them as beasts. So that's like, woof, a little difference there. Now Daniel 8:20, the ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia. So at some point, King Nebuchadnezzar probably knew this. I don't know if Daniel told him, but Daniel knew that the Medians and the Persians would conquer Babylon. And the rough goat, that's 21 now, 8:21, and the rough goat is the king of Gracia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Now we know that's the order. There was Babylon, Medo-Persia, and Greece. We know that's exactly what happened. And that the Grecian Empire was then later it was kind of gone. And then there's the fourth kingdom. Generally is considered to be Rome. Now if we go to Daniel 8:22, now that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, four kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. So four kingdoms will stand out of the Grecian Empire. And Daniel 2:40. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise. Now, there will be a lot of questions about this, because in general people think, oh, the third kingdom was Greece, and then it broke into four, so that Seleucid, Ptolemy, Licinius, what are they? Those four. But actually Grecian Empire broke into many more pieces than the main four. Now I want to stress this. The belly and thighs of brass are Greece. They represent Greece, the Grecian Empire. But not the legs and feet and toes. They are the fourth kingdom, and they are not these Seleucid and Ptolemy parts of the Grecian Empire. There's no confirmation in the Bible that this would be the case. So we can rest assured that is not so. Now, if we have a discrepancy, if we don't know, there's one thing I want to stress. The Word of God is our final authority. The Word of God is something we can trust and have faith in. We can believe it. There can be misinterpretations. There can be mistranslations. Just a little word. And it can be tested and checked. You can go various instances. The internet has a lot of solutions for finding the truth of what it is. I go sometimes to the Greek text, which I don't understand. I have to translate that too. And then I go to the Aramaic text that is in Aramaic and translated into English, and try to find the truth there. And you have, of course, the concordances and all these things. It's good to, when you study the Bible, it's good you take one topic that you feel led to do, and you study that thoroughly. God actually told me to study this, but I didn't understand it first time. It's a pretty big subject. So anyway, the Bible is the final authority we have, and we can trust that to be the absolute truth. And if we go to Daniel 7 about the fourth kingdom, then I will just read some part if I can now. There, yes. So I get it here. Daniel 7, please again, read the entire chapter. You know, when I started reading the Bible, I first just read it through, just to get an idea what it was all about. And then I started seeing if I understood it. I read it again and again and again. So sometimes we have to really kind of get into it to really get it. And it's good to ask God to help you. You know, He will. He helped me. Anyway, so I go to Daniel 7:3. And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. Now, I think these are the 4 partitions, 4 parts that came from the Grecian Empire, somehow. And there was there's something there that we obviously have not understood completely. And then we go to Daniel 7:4. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. Now, we know from Revelation 13, which tells about these exactly same animals, lion, bear, leopards, and a combination of these supported by a dragon. Woof. Anyway, but we know Jesus is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And the first one that had wings, I think that's how the gospel spread after Jesus' death. It spread with wings of love, and it spread especially to the people he loved, and then to his disciples, and to the people his disciples were related to and loved, and then to the whole world. So this is how the gospel started spreading. We don't have the gospel unless the disciples did manage to spread it to us. It would have just stayed in Israel. That was it. No, we have it today because they worked very hard to give it to all. And everybody, I think most people on earth know about Jesus. I can't imagine there would be people that don't know. Well, I grew up with no religion, no faith. I didn't know about my ethnic background. I knew nothing. But I still had a longing. And when I then finally received Jesus, that was fireworks. Wow, it was wonderful. So, but then Daniel 7:4 goes on. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. There are all kinds of interpretations about this. My thought, I believe it's correct, but we always believe ours is the right one. So, anyway, lion's heart is stronger than man's heart. I think you can agree with that. So the winged lion had Jesus' heart, and then it gets a man's heart, and I think that's the carnal mind. The spreading of the gospel ceased, or maybe just slowed down or spread less, or people settled down, got their homes, got whatever they needed, and they became complacent and didn't preach as much, or maybe not at all. I just felt that was it. And I think that this is also for the generation after the disciples were gone. These people were not as strongly convinced and convicted how important preaching was. So I know a lot of people that feel they are very Christian, but they never preach. They never tell anybody about it. So why don't you just go out today and preach to someone? It's wonderful, because then the Spirit of God flows through you. Now let's go back to Daniel 7. And then this was the lion first. And then after the lion, Daniel tells us, and behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear. Ooh. Broom, broom. And it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Rise, devour much flesh. After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings, of a fowl. Fowl is bird, in case there are some people that don't speak English so much. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Now, if we go back to the bear a little bit, there are some interpretations that lock these things to the past. Oh, the bear is Medo-Persia. No, Medo-Persia was a ram with 2 horns. And one side was higher than the other. No, the bear is another. God is not he doesn't cause confusion. The bear is something totally different. It's not Medo-Persia. Besides, in Revelation 13, we know that the revelation was given about Jesus. It's told about his coming and his life, and it tells about these same beasts, exactly the same names and everything. And if we now take that, then Daniel 7 and Revelation, they kind of birth it. They start with Jesus. So they don't go backward. There are other reasons we can go. We will go over a lot of those later. This is a series, and it will take quite a few sessions to get all this done. The bear is something different. I will get back to that later, but the bear is told to devour much flesh, to kill many. Now, if we think about the bear, and it has to kill many, then we know there's been wars on the planet, all kinds of times, but maybe the worst experience of wars was the Holocaust. Because with no rhyme or reason, suddenly there are concentration camps where people are just killed by the masses, and very few Jews actually managed to flee. I always wonder how people understand math, because they say 6 million Jews were killed in various concentration camps in Germany, Crete, Russia, wherever they were, Austria, I don't know. But then millions and millions fled to America. Now, for one thing, if you're dead, I think it's hard to flee. So I don't think the ones that fled were Jews. They couldn't be. They were mostly killed. There were only a very few Jewish families that managed to flee. And even out of those families, very few managed to survive and kind of live somewhere else. Also, when David Ben-Gurion, Ashkenazi Jew, established Israel, he did not establish it the old Israeli way. It was already old. I mean, we have now Jesus' way. It's not the old way, just to make it clear. But he established it the same way as all contemporary kingdoms, with the government, but not with the king and high priesthood. And none of the Jewish families that lived in the mountains of Caucasus that had fled there, none of them were allowed to return to Israel. I know. So we were not allowed to return, none of us. None of our families were allowed to return. And this is something that has been kept secret. So I don't know if there are any Jews in Israel today. My idea is that there aren't, unless they are visiting undercover. So anyway, so the bear was something else, and it did rise after Jesus' birth at some point. We will get back to that. So I try to make you please join, click the buttons and whatever. And after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard. Now, we read that. So there was this leopard with 4 wings and 4 heads, and it was given dominion. Now dominion means it rules. I want you to watch this very carefully. I want you to think about it. Now we know today the leopard has spread with wings to just all possible nations. I know in my country there are so many people that represent the leopard. It's just shocking. Not that I have anything really against them as such, but it was quite a swarming really that happened and took place. So the leopard has dominion. It was given dominion. But if the leopard is given dominion, who gave it? Ask yourself that. Who gave the dominion? Somebody must be above the leopard. Otherwise, the leopard wouldn't be given dominion. And that somebody we need to understand, All right. I read one more thing. And after this I saw in the night vision, and behold, a fourth beast. And this is now the same beast, same fourth beast as in Daniel 2. The legs and feet and toes. Dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. English is not my native tongue. So I had to check residue. It means remnant, the rest. So, because I didn't know what it meant. And it was divers, that means different, nothing to do with diving, from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Now, this last beast that has all these characteristics of the 3 earlier ones. I call it the CB, combination beast. So it's a combination of these 4, of the lion, of the bear, of the leopard, and actually also the dragon. The dragon is never mentioned as rising from the sea. When Jesus was born, the dragon was already ruling. King Herod was Edomite. He was not a Jew. He turned into Jewish religion, to please people, and he married Jewish princess Mariamne. But he was not a Jew, and he never lived as a Jew. He never did anything. He was not a Jew. He was Edomite, Idumean. I hope I pronounced that halfway right. So he was the king. He was the king chosen by Rome. And I think Rome had a good political reason to do that. I mean, if you choose a king of the people, there's a chance that that king is more loyal to the people than to Rome. But he chose an Idumean king, an Edomite king, and his chances of having support from the king over what the people thought was thus greater. So I understand why Rome did that. It wasn't right. I mean, they had no right to choose an Israeli king. But nevertheless, that's what happened. And after Herod the Great, his father was, Antipater, I think it was 2nd or 3rd, ruled before him. And Antipater, actually, the lineage goes back to the Hasmoneans when they conquered Edom. They chose Antipater to rule Edom, which wasn't very wise of them. They should have chosen a Jewish or at least Israeli ruler to rule Edom. And that's why when there was Antipater, and then Herod the Great was Antipater, I think this third or second son, then Herod the Great ruled Israel. Herod the Great had a whole lot of children. He had Mariamne killed, and the children they had, he also had them killed because he didn't want a Jewish lineage to rule Israel, and he placed his own sons and grandsons to rule Israel. So that there was altogether 7 of them. Herod the Great, then we know Archelaus, don't know how you pronounce it, and there was Herod Licinius, Herod Philip, Herod Antipas, and Herod Philip, Herod Agrippa first, and Herod Agrippa second. Those were Herod Antipas's son and grandsons. So these 7 ruled, one after the other, ruled Israel. And that's a 7-headed dragon that ruled Israel, that had the highest power. Now I still read for you, I got tripped off. Daniel 7:23. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth. To find my place. Which shall be diverse. Again, let's not go diving, let's be different. From all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. So these kingdoms, these 4 kingdoms that rose, were the kingdom of lion, whatever that is, it rose. The kingdom of the bear, whatever that is, it rose. And the kingdom of leopard, and then these combine, and that's the CB. That is the 4th kingdom. And that rose after, they rose after one another. They didn't just come overnight. And this is the 4th mystery. It's an enigma. We don't know what it is. And I was perplexed. I thought, oh, that's easy. And God told me to do this. I can just, that's Rome. No, it's not. Now we will go through these different things, and first we will look at Rome a little bit more. I have